instructions on how to start your create task in for the APCSP exam for 2021. In code.org, we have some resources for you to follow. So in Unit 8, Lesson 1, to get started, you'll see that we have this resource here in this very first step. It says task instructions. This is really where we want to go to get started. There is this task right here, and it's going to open up to the College Board AP instructions. So if you can get this from the College Board website, one or the other. But I'm actually going to jump straight down to page 5 of this. So I went all the way down to page 5. If you wanted to, you can look at page 4, which talks about what the things you're going to be turning in. But I'm not going to worry so much about, the final code. We need to do the final code in the video and the written response right now. We're going to talk about we're talking about the program. What are we going to program? And this gives us explicitly what we want to code. So specifics on what we want to code. And so the program code, it says it can be created independent or collaboratively. So please be aware of this, independent or collaboratively. So it's not with my help, a teacher's help. It is within partners within the classroom or yourself. So submit. At the end, you're going to be submitting one PDF that contains all of your program code, including comments. So I want to reiterate here, including comments. You must. So add in comments. So I would say start with pseudocode. Write out in human language what your code is doing, what it means, and then go through and then fill in the comments and then increase those comments as you go. You really can't really over comment this for this part. So include comments also that acknowledge for any part of the code submitted that has been written by someone other than you. And also including your partner and or your partner. I would also say, so if you're getting code from somewhere else, and hopefully you're not doing too much code that's not written by you, making sure that you're acknowledging any code that's not written by you. And then also that you are citing anything that you're getting from somewhere else. So let's say that you're using the database from code.org, that you're saying that you're citing that you're getting the database from code.org, or if you're using images from the internet. I would really go out and look for Creative Commons images. So just once again, doing something like this where let's say you're going out, and we were looking earlier for the obelisk symbol. So looking for the symbols, going to tools, looking for usage rights, and then going to Creative Commons. And that way you're looking for images that you're allowed to use, then looking for something that's transparent. And then, finding it here. Again, making sure that you're giving credit to whoever you've gotten it from, and also double checking to make sure that you actually have the use rightage. I think that Marcus forgot I'm recording right now. So going back to there we go. Let's go back to this. So going back to our instructions here. So in this, we're in our program, we want to make sure that we have our code. So in this instructions here, our code that we're actually doing, want to make sure that we have, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on this. Let's go and zoom in some so we can see this. So we have, what's important is you must include instructions. So you want to make sure that your program that you actually write, so you want to make sure that you have instructions for the user to follow in your program. So you don't just have a screen that doesn't really tell you what to do. So it has to be really clear, like it says, enter text here or click here or whatever it is. It has to be really clear that when they actually look at the actual program, that they know exactly what they're supposed to do. So that's just very, very clear. And then And so we're really clear on that. So it says instructions for input from one of the following. So there's input of some sort that we're really clear as to what the input is for the that there's some sort of input, and then that you do have to have at least one list. Or other side of, or other type of collection. I am saying use a list. So make sure you're using one list. It could be a list that's created from the input that's being collected from the user. It could be a list that you've already created in your program. It could be one of the databases that is available in code.org or somewhere else. It could be something that you might be collecting off the internet. So it could be a database or a library, but make sure you're using at least one list. Again, it could be something that's be created in as you create your code. And then something that let me slow down here. Use at least one list to represent a collection of data that is stored and used to manage program complexity and to help fulfill the program's purpose. Okay, so as you use this, so you might be using another list within this. So you might be collecting from one list and using it in another list to help manage the program's complexity. So again, points here again in here. So a collection type, this talks about here what a collection type is. So you can look over here as to what a collection type is. So again, I'm just kind of briefly going over this. Please do look further into this as you do this on your own. You do need to have at least one procedure. So we're talking about a function, right? So a procedure or function is, that's what we're talking about. So in our class, we're talking about a function as a procedure. So we have at least one procedure that contributes to the program intended purpose. And so we have a procedure name, and that we're using at least one parameter. And so the parameter is what is added into that. So you have, let's say, if I had find dog name or something like that, I don't know. And then inside those parentheses, we have the whatever we're passing into that. That is the parameter. So whatever you have that's inside the parentheses of your function is a parameter. What you're passing into it, like when you call that is what you're passing into the parameter. And you could have more than one thing in there. So it might be breed and size, or there's several things that you might be passing in. It's up to you. I don't know why I picked dogs. Everybody picks dogs. I think it's kind of silly, but that's just something that's kind of easy to reference, I guess. And then we also want to make sure that it's whatever you're passing in is also affecting the program. So an algorithm. So your algorithm in here, your algorithm is first off sequencing, meaning that it has, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So all these different things are happening in order. That's sequencing. And that an iteration, meaning that you have something that's happening in a loop, like a for loop, that's iterations. So we're doing something for a certain amount of times. You might be doing it for the length of a table or length of something, I'm saying the length of a table, a length of a list. So you might be checking the list for something. And then, which kind of happens with the list a lot of times. And then the selection, of course, would be picking something out of a list, would be that, and that's going to actually affect your list. So if you have a selection and it didn't really do anything with that selection, then you're not going to get points for that either. So it has to contribute. So this up here is talking about how it has to contribute to the where did it say that up here? It needs to contribute to a procedure that contributes to the program's intended purpose. So you can't just have a procedure that really does nothing. So after you've done this and you say, okay, I'm going to select something, and you're going to end up with a dog's name. If it doesn't really, if you pull that the type of dog out of here, like I'm looking for a particular size of a dog, and then it doesn't really do anything with it. That's not going to count. You have to have it and do something. It has to return to the program or have something that's producing something to the intended purpose of the program. The calls to your procedure. So calls to procedure would be, a lot of times we use the on events, and then we would have the on event actually send that information to the procedure. So the on event would be would have the would be calling the name of the procedure, so the name of the function, and then asking, or so you'd have the name of the function, so it would be find dog name, and then in the parentheses you'd be saying whatever you're passing into it. And we can go in a little bit into that. I think we can have some examples at another time, but I think you guys should understand what this means right now. And so we have these things that are required. So again, these are the requirements, and hopefully everybody's understanding what to do here. You have to have a call, and then instructions for output. If you do have to have, if you have to have these things on, you make sure you're having instructions for any of this. So if somebody has to listen to something, you want to make sure that they have their sound, their sound on, right? So make sure that you have any of this instructions for that. So those are things that are important for this. You don't have to have sound, but you want to make sure you have instructions if you have that. These are the things that are required for the AP, the program. So it's pretty simple. And they say, not to go overboard with your design. You don't have to at least go over with your design, since these are fairly simple instructions for the procedure, and to kind of keep it simple just to get through this, and because you don't miss the mark, right? You could make this really crazy program and then not do well in the AP exam because you didn't actually turn in what you're looking for, or have it do what is required for this exam. I had that happen the last couple of years, having students really turn in some really, really cool programs, but not do well with their score because they weren't really turning in what they were supposed to for this. So again, this is page 5 of the procedures, the student handout for the procedures. And so take a look at that, look it over. If you have questions, be sure and ask. This is something we can definitely clarify. Later on, we'll talk about creating a video of this. It has to be, less than a minute long, less than 30 megabytes, which sometimes could be an issue. And we'll talk about that. And then also to answering the questions for the what you're turning in. So that right there is what you got to do. Again, that was coming from here. If you see, there's a lot of other different, there's examples of some of the samples of what people have done. They don't show you the code though, so be aware that you're not going to get samples of code, but you can look back at some of your other assignments to get samples of code, especially because some of these samples are things that we've done in class. So like this one, the word game. Hey, we did this. So okay, well, if you want to look through this and see what is done in class. Now, also too, this sample also has like how it was scored. So if you look at this, it's the samples of written, and then down below it will talk about how it's scored. That's the PT sample, and then down below it talks about how it's scored. So this annotated sample down here talks about how it's scored. So I'm going to do another video about that for sure. I think this video is probably long enough right now. So let's go ahead and cut this off. And yep, there we'll go.